Evening, everybody. Got my workout and shower in, so now I want to do another video. And it's going to be a Lilith video because people are liking them, and I like that you like them because everybody should know more about Lilith, particularly women. And if you're the bad kind of guy, you should know about Lilith and fear her and quickly change how you treat women. And if you are a woman who has been treated that way, Lilith can help get you your oh so justified revenge in the most splendid way. There's no better way to punish a player than to take away the tool that he plays with, or make it not work properly anyway. So, we're going to talk about Lilith, because Lilith cheers me up. And these days, that's a short list. It's Lilith and another very awesome female that is so awesome I questioned if she was real. So, on to the video. Most of you, or most people in general, like not people that have been watching my videos, don't know about Lilith. She's been suppressed through the centuries and slandered and told it's just a myth. And it's like, but wait a minute. She's part of all those other myths that you all say are literally true. It's like, not that one. No. Not that one. She's an empowered woman who became a goddess and a queen in her own right. No, that's make-believe. Eve is real, though. Submit. It's in the Bible. Submit to me. But many people know, sort of, the story of Lilith, even if they don't know it. Because Lilith has been inspiring fictional characters for a long time. Now, because I don't want this video to be super long, I'm only going to talk about 3. And one from my early childhood, one from my childhood, and one is an adult. And they are all undeniably influenced by the goddess Lilith, one even by name. So we'll start chronologically. A character that many find empowering, and that I said as a child was misunderstood and not evil, and everybody said I was crazy because, yes, this is a Disney character, and yes, I was the little boy who rooted for the witches in the Disney movies. I rooted for Maleficent. I rooted for Ursula. Yeah, I wanted them to win. Because, I've been calling myself a witch since I was 3. I'm like, I want to be able to do that. And my favorite of the Disney villains, and the most misunderstood, was Maleficent. And she got her, name cleared years later. I didn't know that until a couple years ago when I was watching one of my friend's little kids. I'm like, what's this about? They make a live action one of this? No. It's like the redoing of the story, because, history is written by the victors. So, that was pretty cool. I was quite enthralled watching it with a little toddler on my lap. It's like, oh, she likes it. This is cool. She's happy. Babies and toddlers cheer me up all the time. They can't help but do it. But Maleficent, clearly based on Lilith. It's even been stated if you read up on it. But, it's quite obvious when you look at it. Her appearance, the, powerful, dark woman horns, and in some cases, wings, magical ability, of course, the mistress of all evil. Lilith is the queen of hell. And dragon imagery. Maleficent transforms into a dragon in that infamous scene and actually states the words, now, wait, what'd she say? Now it is me you'll face, O prince, or something like that, and all the powers of hell. So, all the powers of hell, the queen of hell, get it? And she is the scorned woman, as we now know, which Lilith is the original of. The scorned woman, betrayed by what she thought was unconditional love. Lilith, of course, was in love with Adam unconditionally and thought he was too. And Lilith believed that, unconditional love means equality. Well, Adam wanted, a submissive slave wife, and Lilith wasn't having that. Can't blame her. And in the story of Maleficent, she fell in love with Stefan, who later became King Stefan, but he sold her out for status and power. Cut off her wings. So, I think she rightfully became scorned then too, and at first didn't even seek vengeance, just sought exile. So throughout, the story of Maleficent as a whole, it's a very powerful being that isn't given her due. Her power isn't really respected. Her motives aren't really understood. She's quite protective of her own kind, in the fictional adaptations of Maleficent. She's protective of the Moors. She is their queen. Lilith is the queen of hell, and she's quite protective of witches and her daughters, the succubi, because succubi can be mistreated. So, clear Lilithian influence there, and you see, in the later live-action adaptation that, she wasn't trying to curse the princess. No, she learned again what true love is, Maleficent. But what she was doing to the princess was to empower her and help her become a queen in her own right, instead of some prince's plaything and basically being sold off to the prince as a piece of property so daddy can have more power over the land. Because, why not? If you sell out your one true love for power, what's going to stop you from selling out your daughter, right? He must be a baby boomer, because all he cares about is more for himself. So you see that with Maleficent, the protective fairy godmother type, which made me chuckle, because I had a dragon fairy godmother as a kid. She's a succubus, but she's still here. But so there's that as well, and that sense of justice and equality, which was Maleficent's true ambition, which mirrors Lilith. Head up to number 2. This is a sitcom now. Actually, 2. On Cheers and Frasier, there is a character called Lilith. It is Frasier's wife and then later ex-wife, the mother of his child. Very intelligent. She's, seen as very, the character is very cold and icy, except for, highly seductive and sexual at select times when she decides to. But the character of Lilith Sternin has command presence like crazy. When she walks in a room, if you're familiar with Cheers and Frasier, even Martin's father, a Korean War vet and a ex-vice detective, was taken back by her command presence. So she's very confident in her abilities. She can call out bullshit like that. There's no getting one over on Lilith Sternin. And they also, throughout the show, made several references to the goddess. Like when Daphne first met her, she said, "When I shook hands with that woman, I lost all the feeling in me arm." And Frasier was having a crisis over Lilith, went to see his brother Niles, also a psychiatrist, and Niles' response was, he's like, "That's strange. Usually I have signs when Lilith is in town, dogs forming into packs, blood weeping from walls." And in one episode, they flat out, she's flat out compared to the goddess by a new love interest of hers, and he says, "Oh, like the goddess," and Lilith Sternin says, "I make her look like a cream puff," because the goddess Lilith actually is, very compassionate and motherly, and does have that dark, protective, vengeful side as well. So, it's fitting that a independent, powerful, commanding, confident career woman who doesn't need anybody to take care of her, who scares the hell out of people, would be named after the goddess Lilith. And particularly because the character of Lilith Sternin is Jewish as well, and Lilith, of course, is from Jewish mythology. And the third, I saved the best for last. This character inspired many. Her story is well known. Her struggle is well known. She became a queen in her right. She was wronged in so many ways. Her story is so powerful that she even empowered the actor who played her, who by her own words was a pushover who couldn't say no, and that she grew with this character. Ah, yes, of course, how can I not mention this? Daenerys Targaryen. Yeah, if you see the signs, it's obvious. We'll go in depth here. What are Lilith's colors? Red and black. What are the Targaryen colors? Red and black. Daenerys was sold into a very rapey marriage that caused me to feel sick and have to look away in a lot of scenes, because I don't want to watch anybody have to go through that, but particularly Amelia. So, but then, she learned through a female handmaiden to be on top, like learning from a succubus, because that's what Lilith wanted to, she figured she could get equality by being on top, and then their marriage got better. To me, it's because, she couldn't leave him and all that. I mean, I refuse to acknowledge that as a love story. That's a Stockholm Syndrome story. And my sisters in the craft, they were the ones who pointed that out. I'm like, what's Stockholm Syndrome? Oh yeah, that's what that is. So there's that. Exile in the desert. Lilith was exiled in the desert. Daenerys wandered in the desert. Yeah, dragons. Lilith is associated with dragons, particularly black dragons, mother of dragons, mother of demons. Both are breaker of chains. Both are, women that sought to end oppression and exploitation of other women, particularly against the powerful men. They're out to get the old boys club. Perhaps the most infamous comparison is the scene where Daenerys literally, well, that's literal, but actually burns down the old boys club. The cows where she just pushes fire over and the hut with all the big important old boys gets burned down. She emerges powerful and naked. Well, the naked woman is particularly usually depicted as vulnerability, because let's be honest, if a woman appears like that, looks like that, appears naked around hundreds of men, one can easily imagine what would normally happen. Lilith is typically seen as naked but empowered. So in that scene, Daenerys emerges fully naked, having burned that down through the fires of hell, emerging unharmed, as the Queen of Hell would be unharmed by fire. And very important, the full moon is there, which is the most #1 sign of female empowerment, the symbol of many a goddess, but a sign of feminine energy, no doubt. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, and there's more. Well, I'm trying not to make this too long, so I'm just going to try to hit the big points with this one, because there's so many. I could probably do an hour video on the comparisons here, because there's a lot. And also, it's quite obvious, because Martin is a in the broom closet male witch. I'm not in the broom closet, but it takes one to know one. We can spot our own. That one R, it's for my confirmation name. Give you a little secret about male witches. The oldest trick in the book for us is to pretend to be Catholic. I was an altar boy. One of my mentors, who's gay, was a deacon. So to be like, no, because male witches, we can hide better than female witches, because they don't expect us as much, because most people think witchcraft is just a feminine thing. And it mostly is, because you got to be able to use feminine energy to do magic. But anyway, so probably the biggest point with my comparison, another big point is Daenerys wanted to destroy the status quo. Lilith and her followers, including me, are all about that. Now, of course, because when you have an empowered woman who's burning down the old boys clubs and hanging killing slave owners and just completely going to destroy that patriarchal exploitative system, she must be vilified, of course. After all, she burnt King's Landing. So, and this is also an INFJ thing. I did a video about it too. This is why this one particularly hits home, because it's my celebrity crush. She's the same personality type as me, and she's heavily influenced by my goddess. Yeah, how many people can say that? It ain't just a story. Insulted my religion. I should sue. Anyway, I already did that once with Arlington. So, oh wait, I'm talking about Lilith. Medallion deserves to be out. So, Lilith, the empowered woman, she burns down. I thought this about Daenerys for a while, but then when I saw the scene where she's dressed in black, there's draconic wings behind her, there's a ruined city with ash falling depicting hell, and she has an army in front of her, and she's the commander of this army, a queen in her own right. Any witch will tell you that depiction, it can be no one else. That is Lilith. And of course, vilified. And like with INFJs in general, creating positive change. I won't get into this because I did another video on it. And Lilith, when you want to vilify somebody, you retcon all the good things they did, all the things that you said was justified and, was necessary to cause change. But they must all be retcon. That's what they did with Lilith. It's like, oh, she's crazy and evil. This is why the status quo must be kept in check. That's what they did with Daenerys. It's like, no. Let's go back to how it was when Robert was around. Same old boys club, same old status quo. This is why rebellion is bad, and it is what it is. Right? Nothing changed. Nothing changed, because the agent of change was vilified and killed. I'll be honest, when they stabbed her, I was hoping she'd go full Lilith and sprout wings and horns and fly into the night. But alas. But it is interesting, too, in this case, that Emilia Clarke herself spoke about going from being a young actor who couldn't say no, who was exploited sexually, to not being able to set boundaries, and how portraying this character made her more of a feminist, more able to stand up for herself, more able to speak out against others. And I think that can't be by coincidence, whether she knows it or not, especially given how much this character is based on Lilith. The dark feminine energy that she gained through that had to come from her. And more so because, and I can speak up to myself, when you're being drugged down a false path in life, and Lilith is going to help you, and she wants to help you become the person you're meant to be, usually you have a near-death experience, so that false part of you dies. I got shot and my femoral artery was hit, and I lost half my blood, and I lived. Emilia had a major brain hemorrhage, or brain aneurysm, and was able to recover. And another sign that Lilith is helping you, like, for example, she had 2 major aneurysms, and she can still speak full sentences and, doesn't seemingly have any lasting damage that anybody can notice, which is miraculous. In my case, what happened to my leg, parts were replaced, I should have bled out, and yet I can work out. I was a firefighter. Like, I, by right, should be walking like Hugh Laurie's character, Dr. Gregory House, but I'm not. So, that's another sign of, when the goddess takes notice to you. I have no doubt that, and it's important with this character because it empowered so many women. So many women saw inspiration through Daenerys Targaryen and were rightfully angered when she was retconned and slandered into a villain at the end. And I can't help but think, as a witch, is what would happen if those women that were inspired by that character knew of the goddess, knew that dark feminine energy is out there, knowing that they can tap into it, knowing that this is the goddess who's been in the real world fighting the patriarchy for thousands of years. Particularly, what if Emilia Clarke knew that and she spoke out about it? What if she became a Lilithian witch? How many would come to our ranks then? Could that be real change? It's just an interesting thing to think about for those that seek to actually cause progressive change and truly end, patriarchal systems, particularly like Good Old Boys Club. That's the one that I go after. So it's an interesting thing to think about, and at the same time, it's hard to believe because so many people were brought up in Abrahamic systems, and Lilith, if they do know of her, evil, hell, bad, and then you get into it, it's like, well, what did Lilith do that was so evil? And you look at it, I'll go back to Game of Thrones for a second. It's like, so, she did that, and she's the ultimate evil. But it's like, wait a minute, nobody said it. Nobody made Jon Snow evil when he beheaded somebody just because he said, I'm not gonna go dig the new shitter. I mean, he didn't lock him up for a few days or, give him a beating to show him who's boss. He killed him. That's okay. Kind of a double standard-y thing. So, just some thoughts. But for those of you that, are watching my videos and starting to feel the call of Lilith, perhaps you've felt it longer than you've thought. Because there's many characters that are inspired by her, particularly Daenerys Targaryen, because that was a 8-season thing and not just a single movie, and she was a major character, whereas Lilith Sternin was a recurring character. So, yeah, just think about that. People that are inspired by fictional characters actually looked in to where that inspiration is coming from. What then? What changed then? Perhaps the queen in her own right can finally get her equality back. And when Lilith gets her equality back, everybody gets their equality back. Because if that system is to finally be defeated, you need to do it through her. Okay, ladies, like, you're never going to get your equality back through Abrahamic religions. That's the very system that took it away. Get it? But, the woman who was scorned first, the one who's been fighting longer than anyone, the one who's became a queen in her own right. Through her, it is possible, especially if our ranks as Lilithian witches can grow. And it is growing. I mean, we are a small minority, but with the internet and people speaking out and the Me Too movement and things rapidly changing, more people are looking into it. You know, being a witch is still a pejorative, but they can't hang us anymore, or burn us, or drown us. So, with freedom of religion in most countries, well, all the countries in the West anyway, you are free to embrace the path of Lilith. It's not a path for everybody, but if equality is what you seek and progressive change, you know, and to bring down the old boys club, then it's at least worth looking into, especially if you are inspired by fictional characters that would not exist without the story of Lilith inspiring them.